I think it's spot on, and he gave me some pointers and some advice, and wrote a message, and had a great response. You probably have already forgot about it, but it was titled, Get Planted, and how it's important for us this year, get planted. Because I do believe it's going to be a year of growth, but before that happens, it's kind of up to us. Before that happens, we got to get planted. There's so many of us, we're like, man, we don't see any growth in our life. Well, it's because you're not planted anywhere. You're not planted in the Word. You're not planted in your church. You can't even get planted in a relationship with somebody. Like, you're just like, you just, hey, if it looks better over there, I'm going to go over there. And today, I think it's probably worse than ever, is people don't want to get planted in a church. They just like, I want freedom. I just want to be able to go where I want to go, I just want to, go over here. And then, or we get super offended really quick. It's like, oh, over there, they don't value me. I'm undervalued. They put me under pressure. How do they put you under pressure? They say, hi, we're glad you're here when we walk in. Somebody says something that offends me, or I don't get noticed when I go there. Or I get noticed too much when I go there. If you're thinking like, man, the pastor knows Karen's name, but don't know my name, that's not always a good thing, right? Because sometimes you learn people's names by someone going, Pastor, I hate to break it to you, Karen's here again. You remember what she did last time? Sometimes, so it's not always a good thing when someone knows your name, but I mean, most of the time we know, it's not a big church, but we know your name, but oh yeah, they don't notice me, or they notice me too much. And when something happens that upsets us, our first reaction is to uproot and leave, or just go from one place to the other. And this was our main verse last week, or 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to read it now. Psalms 1:3 says, "They are like trees planted along the riverbank." This is talking about you and me. This is for us. These are for followers of God. "Bearing fruit each season. Their leaves never wither, and they prosper in all they do." So we're planted by the riverbank. So, plants that are planted by the riverbank, you know what they don't have to worry about? Is water. They don't have to worry about, is it going to rain or not? They don't have to worry about, is Jen going to come water me today? They don't need, they got constant water. They're planted by the riverbank. They're getting water. And what this is saying, what the psalmist is saying, is when you get planted next to the living water, when you get planted next to God, when you stay planted next to Him, you don't have to rely on somebody else giving you what you need, because you get it from God. But oftentimes, we want it from everybody else. We want to be validated by everybody else. We want people to tell us, "Oh man, you looking good today. Oh man, I like those shoes. I like that shirt." Not Miss Susan. "Oh, did you lose a job at Burger King?" They don't need that. I don't even know the purple at Burger King. I have no idea where that came from. They're like, that makes no sense. Get used to it. All right? But you don't have to worry about the rain. You don't have to worry about being watered. But this is why a lot of people don't get planted, though. Because when you get planted and you rely on God, you got to release some control. And most of us are not good at releasing control. We want to control everything around us. And that's the problem. Because when we try to control all that stuff around us, we make a mess of things. I don't know about you, but I've made a mess out of a lot of things. You know what I'm talking about, Brent. I've made a mess out of a lot of things. Because I've tried to do it on my own. And when you get planted next to the living water, you rely on God. So a lot of times we don't trust God. We don't trust what He has. So that's why we just jump from one thing to the other before we get planted. A lot of us, okay, I'm going to be super Okay, I'm gonna be honest, and you guys just remember when I say this. Remember, I've said a lot of good things over the past 4 years, and I usually talk about love and how and I very rarely get on to anybody from up here. But this is what I've noticed at Fairlawn in the past 4 years, going on 5. Is there a lot of people here that worry way too much about a position? There's a lot of people worried about, am I going to get a position? And why did that person get a position? I want to say this. First of all, leadership isn't about a position. Leadership starts before that position. And if you're like, well, my attendance would be better. I would be here more. I would do more stuff if I had that position. No, you would not. No, you wouldn't. Because if you can't do it now when you are assigned those things to do, you're definitely not going to do it when you have this big list of things you're assigned to do. And we jump from place to place. There's a bunch of ministers, there's a bunch of Christians, there's a bunch of church-going people, great people, but they have never gotten planted because they jump from one thing to the other because they're seeking a position instead of seeking Jesus. See, a true leader, you don't have to give a position. A true leader, you don't have to go to and say, hey, we'll give you $100 every week. Now, that's like added bonus if you get that. Which, by the way, you won't. Just don't get any ideas, John. You're like, I'm going to come up here and get that $100 for putting that table up there. Sorry, bud. But we worry about it. And I don't think it's just Fairlawn. I think that's the culture today. We got to have that position to feel important. And then, or we think we do, and then when we have it, we're like, I don't want to do all that. I was talking to Pastor Paul the other day, and we were just joking about if anybody else ever came on staff, and if we put on a class for pastors, and how the first one we would set them up to speak, and then 10 minutes before they speak, we would say, hey, the toilet stopped up over there. We don't have a plunger. You're going to have to put your hand in there and pull it out. And they're going to go, yeah, but I got to go speak in 10 minutes. And we go, you got 10 minutes to get it done then. Because truthfully, if you're too good to clean a toilet, you're too good to be up here. But a lot of times that's what keeps us from being planted. And then, here's the thing. Once we get planted, because I was totally taken back by how many people were like, man, Pastor Jimmy, that message was just for me. I got this out of that message. Or, man, you're right. I haven't been planted, but I'm going to be planted from this day forward. The thing is, it's somewhat easy to get planted. It's a little more difficult to stay planted. Because you can get planted, hang around for a couple years, and then when things don't go right, well, I'm just going to uproot and go somewhere else. Anybody ever transferred plant from one spot to the other? What usually happens? It starts to die. It looks pretty bad. It starts leaning over, the leaves start getting brown. Eventually it will start to come back alive. But if you keep doing that and replanting and replanting and replanting, that tree is never going to properly grow. And if we keep getting offended, I got to go here. Or I'm undervalued, I got to go here. I didn't get noticed, I got to go here. You're never going to fully grow in your purpose that God called you. And here's the thing about growth. This is what keeps a lot of people from growth too. Is we don't want to be uncomfortable. Some of you were very comfortable when we had about 20, 30 people here on Sunday mornings. You had a whole row to yourself. And now you're like, man, so that person's sitting in my seat. Some of you had to move from the last row to the middle row. Because someone else has been beating you here to get the last row. Some of you, Lord forbid, had to move to the front row. truly want to grow, you're going to have to be uncomfortable. And I'm just telling you, how many is first time here at Fairlawn? First time you've ever been here? Yeah, some of y'all are like, I don't know, I'm kind of scared now. We are so glad that you are here. We want you to come back. We want you to be a part of this family. In fact, once you walk in, you're like automatically a part of this family. But if you decide to make this your church and this your home, there are going to be times that you are going to be uncomfortable. Because we understand for true growth, there are going to have to be times that we are going to be uncomfortable. But a lot of times we don't want that. We want to feel that comfort. So we try to find it, and then we wonder, like, why am I not growing? Why am I not get anything from here? Why don't I have any friends? It's because you sit home every day, 7 days a week, watching Golden Girls. I know, it's a good show. You don't blame them. But maybe they should cut it down from 20 hours to maybe 3 hours of Golden Girls. Blanche is funny, okay? And here's the thing also about growth. Growth takes time. And we're in a generation, we're in a world today that we want everything right now. Yeah. You ever get one of those meals? It has 3 cooking directions. Microwave, oven, air fryer. The microwave is way less time, but it does not taste nearly as good. You know something that's disgusting in the microwave? Leftover pizza. So gross. If you are gonna microwave the pizza, you might as well just throw it away. I haven't had a McDonald's pie in a long time, so I don't know. But sometimes it don't taste good in the microwave. If you really want to taste good, I'm an air fryer guy. I love air fryers. Air fryers all the way. I'd get rid of my stove. If it was stove or air fryer, I'd pick the air fryer. But we want it now. We want that's why we go. So fast food is such a big thing. We want it right now. So we got this picture of different plants at different stages of growth. Can we pull that up there, Caitlin? I know I didn't go over the slide, so it's different. Yes, and we get planted, and we expect to go from right here to here right now. We want this. We see other people right here, right? I see this. This is Donna. Why am I over here still? And we think nothing's happening, but growth is happening underneath. There was a lot of growth that happened before it got there. But we want that right now. And we keep searching for it. But growth takes time. We 2 weeks ago, we talked about the bamboo and how fast if anybody that's been around bamboo, it grows super fast. But we talked about how but when you plant bamboo, like a bamboo seed, it takes 3 to 5 years of growing underground before you see anything above ground. And if you planted some bamboo seed and then you're like, nothing's happening. It's been 3 years, nothing's happening. I might as well just put a sidewalk right here. And you put a sidewalk right there, you've just killed any growth that happened. Because growth's been happening, you just haven't seen it. And here's the thing too. If that can be you, where there's growth happening but you don't see it, stop expecting those around you for you to see their growth right away. Like, man, they've been here 3 years. And they're still going through that. Or they've been here 3 years. When are they going to get out of that? Like, hey, growth's going on. Just because you don't see it don't mean they're not growing. And I'm just going to say this. For most of us, it's not even any of our business. So, I was like, okay, I can't use the bamboo both times, and we talked a little bit about the bamboo, but I was like, so I started researching and trying to find a plant that's really resistant and is resistant in different environments, and I found one. Cactus. Now, you guys, if you've been here for a while, you know sometimes I like to give everybody something they can take home or whatever. So I'm gonna pass this around. Each person touch it, get the brick on their finger, have that in there, remind you. I'm just kidding, it's fake. So a cactus. Now, I get it. There's a lot of you guys that are experts on cactuses. Y'all are experts, cactus experts. I'm a little embarrassed because I didn't know a lot about cacti, until I started looking it up. And I was pretty impressed. Now, first of all, I'm just going to say this. How many of you guys are going, ooh, that's so beautiful? A cactus. Okay, so there's some weird people here. Okay. It's funny, the couple people that raised their hands already knew you guys were weird, so it's cool. I was like, yeah, they're going to be the ones that raise their hand. I kind of think it's ugly, okay? I'm just going to say. It's not as pretty as like some of these other bushes. It's not as pretty as like a rose bush or anything. But here's the thing. You can't compare the two. It has a different purpose than a rose bush. So somebody needs to hear this. Stop comparing yourself to somebody else. The purpose they have is not the same purpose you have. God's doing something different in you. So here's the cool thing about a cactus. Did you know? Now most of us know that a cactus can grow in the desert. Right, that's the big thing, cactus. Did you know cactus can also grow in the rainforest? There's cactus in the rainforest. So there's cactus in like the driest, hottest place, but there's also cactus in like where it constantly floods and rains. That's pretty impressive that it can survive in both of them. But where a cactus really thrives is when it gets hot. It really thrives when the heat is on. And that's point number one with going to cactus. I got two like sections of 3 points. Two sections, two 3-pointers, okay? So point number one, it thrives when the heat's turned up. Some of you don't know if you thrive when the heat's turned up because anytime it gets a little warm, you're like out the door. But here's the cool thing. When it does rain in the desert, what the cactus does is its petals and its leaves and these little thorns that are on it, they take and they soak up the water. And they hold the water inside of them. Then when it doesn't rain and it's really hot, what happens is their root system grows deeper and it grows wider. So if we all took a field trip in the new bus to the desert and we found a cactus, whatever size that cactus is, it has a root system that's way wider than that cactus. Why does it do that? Because those roots are looking for water. And the cactus has stored up all this nutrient so it can live, but it's still looking for more. So it thrives when the heat's turned up. The second thing is its roots grow deep and they wide. They continue to grow. It's not like, oh, I'm good now. I got plenty of water. No, it continues to grow. Good times, bad times, it continues to grow. And here's the one I love the best about a cactus. Number 3. It's a blessing to others. You know why the cactus keeps looking for nutrients, looking for water? Because the cactus is not just for the cactus. See, what happens is with the cactus, it provides water and this nourishment for those others that are in the desert. So Desi, if Heath ever takes you out to the desert and he just leaves you there, and you're thirsty, try to find a cactus, because there's water in there. Survival, you're going to need this. You might want to write it down. Like get Google Notes or something in your phone. I thought that was really cool. We got some pictures of it. So not that one. We got one of a bird. That's one of the things. You can leave that one up right now. Okay, don't. That's a bird drinking from a cactus. Go back to the other picture. Cactuses also serve as protection, as a hiding place for those that are vulnerable. And the cactus also provides a home when those need safety. By the way, that's what Jesus followers are supposed to do. By the way, as the church, that's what we are called to do. Not just soak all this up for us. Hey, look at us. Look what God's doing with us. Sorry, He's not doing it with you. No. If we're truly Jesus people, we know that the blessing's not just for us, but it's for those around us. And when those around us are in need, we provide for them because we know where our provisions come from. If we're worried about provision and we think the only provision we have is from ourselves, then we're going to be stingy with it. But when we know it's beyond us and it comes from God, from our Heavenly Father, then, hey, we know there's plenty of it. There's plenty of resources there. So that brings me to this story, this Bible story. It's a Bible story of these three guys, and it's an often told Bible story. A lot of you guys know it, and you'll know these names of these three guys: Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. You guys know that story? Y'all familiar with it? Raise your hand if you know it. It's like, oh yeah, we've heard that story so many times. Okay, maybe you'll know them under their more common names: Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, here's the thing: Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. What you may not know, that wasn't their real names. That was their Babylonian name. When they were taken from Jerusalem, their names changed. Their Hebrew names is Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Hananiah means Yahweh is gracious. Mishael means who is like God. Azariah means Yahweh has helped. They were taken from their home as teenagers. They were put through this class, this school, learning about the Babylonian gods and learning about the Babylonian way. And they were given new names. Shadrach means the servant of Meshach, which is a foreign god, is a Babylonian god. Meshach means who is like a Kim, which is a moon god of Babylon. And then Abednego is servant of Nebo. So they were given new names, but here's the cool thing about it: they still knew their identity. Some of us have allowed other people to convince us that our identity is something or someone else than who God says it is. And we get so worked up. They call me stupid, and eventually I start convinced I'm stupid. They say that I'm a loser, and they say I guess I am. And you've let those other names that people have called you become your identity. But when you know what your true identity is, it doesn't matter what they call you, because you know where you stand with your Heavenly Father. Amen. And I'm just going to say this. Somebody needs to hear this. You are not who others have been saying you are. You are not that addict. You are not that thief. You are not that liar. You are a child of God. That is where your identity is. So, these three Hebrew boys, they were taken from their home. They were put through this school. They were given a position because they're good, smart kids. They have a gift of prophecy. So they were given these positions in the Babylonian system, in the hierarchy. And there's this king. His name is King Nebuchadnezzar. Do we have any Nebuchadnezzars here? No? There was like 3 of them in first service. No? Okay. Now, it's kind of hard to say Nebuchadnezzar, so we're just going to go with, we're going to give him a nickname. This is our boy Nebi, King Nebi. And by the way, while we're at it, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I'm gonna mess that up at some point. So we're gonna Shad, Mesh, and Benny. Shad, Mesh, and Benny. That's our 3 boys, and then King Nebi. Now, King Nebi has this dream of this big golden head, and if you follow this story in Daniel, King our boy Nebby, he kind of goes like back and forth. He has a lot of cycles. Like he does a lot of good, then he does a lot of bad, and he's like back and forth and trying to figure stuff out. Very indecisive, not good if you're a king. If any of y'all want to be a king, you shouldn't be so indecisive there. You know, you got to know what you want if you're wanting to be king. So think about that before you put in that resume. And he makes this. I had this dream, so he says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this giant idol. There's some people that believe that the idol looked like him. I would say probably was because of his dream and his pride. It probably was, but we don't know that for sure. But this huge idol, and you're like, how big is this idol? Well, if you took 4 giraffes and you stacked them on top of each other, that's how big. So you guys that do measurements by giraffes, 4 giraffes, you know that's really big. I think we got 4 giraffes. Picture of that. That's if you stack those giraffes on top of each other, that's how big it is. All right, so big, right? Big old idol. Now, he's like, we got to get people here. So what he does is he sends out to all the leaders, all the people that have a position within the Babylonian government, he sends them an invite. Says, hey, meet me for a party in front of the palace. There's going to be live entertainment. There's going to be music, live music. So they all gather there. Our boys, Shad, Mesh, and Benny, they're there and they're looking around and like, what's going on? Yeah, hey, did you try the wonton tacos? Of course I did. They're delicious. And a spokesman for King Nebi gets up there. He's like, hear ye, because that's what you say when you're a spokesman for a king. Hear ye, hear ye. Thank you for coming. You see this big golden idol that kind of looks like our king. And I see that you're admiring it. It's pure gold, by the way. 14 karat. And we got this live band. And they're going to play some really cool jams. But here's the catch. When they start playing the music, what all of you guys need to do, I mean, you can hang out and enjoy the music. That's all you need to do. And bow to the idol. And I'm sure people are like, what? I bow to the idol? That's silly. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, that's crazy. It's like, oh, yeah, by the way, yeah, it's up to you if you want to bow to the idol or not. But if you don't, we're going to kill you. And we got this furnace back here. You're just going to get thrown in this furnace. Yeah, it kind of changes some things, right? So they play the music. Shad and Mesh and Benny, they're standing there, and they're just standing there looking around. Now, there's a group of people, okay? There's a group of people, Cynthia, and they've never heard the phrase, snitches get stitches. They've never heard that, obviously. And they see these 3 Hebrew boys standing. They're not bowing down. They sure enjoy those wonton tacos, but they're not bowing down when they're supposed to. So they go to King Nebi and says, hey, those 3 Hebrew boys, they're not bowing down. King Nebi gets mad. He's livid. He's like throwing stuff. He's like, what? And he says, bring them here. And he brings them there. And he probably does some yelling and really upset, you know. But he kind of likes these boys. So he says, you know what, I'm going to give you a second chance. I know, everybody makes mistakes. Listen, we're going to do this again eventually. We're going to give you a pass. You know, just kind of let them know, like, I really scolded you, but just go back out there. That's cool. But when we do it again, you just need to bow, or we're going to have to kill you. So here's point number 1. If you want to stay planted. Point number 1: you must abandon your bow. Because here's the thing. There's always going to be another opportunity for you to bow. And some of you've like, oh man, I feel good. I didn't bow to whatever this was. I didn't bow to that substance. I didn't bow to that person. I didn't bow to that thing. I didn't bow to it. Just know, that's great that you didn't, but just know in your future there's going to be another opportunity for you to bow. And if you're keeping that bow as a backup, then you haven't abandoned your bow. See, there's some of you, you're like, man, you've kept that number in your phone just in case. Yeah, I'm not doing it now, but just in case. Just in case. For some of you, you've paid off all your debt, but you're like, I'm just going to keep this credit card just in case. I'm not gonna block that person on social media, just in case. I know I'm not supposed to talk to them, just in case. Yeah. I mean, I know I'm supposed to wake up at midnight and eat all that ice cream, but I'm just gonna leave it in there just in case. I think I can handle it. I think I can do it. I think I can turn it down. By the way, I cannot. And some of you are wondering why you can't stay planted. It's because you have not abandoned your vow. If this whole God thing don't work out, I just want to have a backup. Just in case. Just in case. Pastor Jimmy's not as funny as he usually is. I want to be able to go somewhere else, Just in case. I love, this is what I love. I hear this often, more often than I should. People say something like, yeah, you know what? It seems like every relationship I get into, they just turn into the same person. Well, how many people have you had relationships with? Like 15. And they've all turned into the same person? Yes! Let me help you try to figure out what the common denominator here is. What's going on? Like, what's the same? Maybe you need to look at yourself here, It's easy to blame everybody else. So, the number one thing, you got to abandon your vow. A lot of us will compromise our faith to avoid discomfort. The second thing we must do is we must take a stand. Look at Daniel 3:17 and 18. This is what they say. It says, hey, just next time bow, okay? Not I'm upset, but next time just bow. All right, I'll let you go. This is what they said. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your power, your majesty. But even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you. A little gangster, these boys. We want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship the golden statue you have set up. He's about to let them go. All they got to do is say, okay. At least buy yourself a little more time. They're like, no. You might as well just throw us in there right now. We ain't going to do it. You got to make a stand. For some of us, it's very difficult. Because here's the problem with making a stand. Stand up, man. What's your name? Andrew, stand up. Okay. Everybody see Andrew? This is the problem when you stand up. Everybody sees you. It's hard to hide when you're standing up. So he's like, I don't want to make a stand. Everybody's going to see me. Thank you, Andrew. So second thing, if you want to stay planted, you got to take a stand. Third thing, and Heath, you can come up here and play some lovely music. Not that junk that Desi likes, that heavy metal stuff. Third thing that you must do if you want to stay planted is you must focus on God's ability, not your capability. So what happened with these three Hebrew boys? Said, all right, Nebuchadnezzar got so mad. He said, turn that furnace up 7 times hotter than it's ever been before. And you're like, why did they have a furnace? Was it built just for this? No, it wasn't. That's how the Babylonians made their architecture. Like they would put the metal and put stuff in that furnace and then melt the gold and everything. So that's what it was for. And they said, hey, you know what we could also use this for? Throwing people in it. 2 birds, 1 stone. We don't got to build anything else. So that's what they started to do. And he got so mad, he said, turn it up 7 times hotter than it's ever been before. Somebody in first service mentioned this, and I never thought about it before. It's like, well, 7 is interesting. It's 7 because 7 is God's number. And I started thinking about that, and I'm like, well, what does 7 represent? It represents completion. So I started thinking, maybe Nebuchadnezzar, maybe he wasn't like 7 times hotter because that's a weird number just to throw out there. Maybe he was like, turn it all the way up, completely up. Turn it all the way up. He just got so mad he wasn't thinking. And here's another thing that they used to do. When they would throw somebody in the furnace, they would strip them of their clothes. And you're like, well, why do they do that? It's kind of embarrassing. they would do that because it would be so hot when they would take them, their clothes would catch on fire first and then catch the soldiers on fire that were throwing them in there. So they would strip them from the clothes. King Nebuchadnezzar, he was so mad he didn't even strip them of their clothes. He just said, turn it all the way up, turn it completely up, throw them in there. And it's interesting, the Bible says that it was so hot that the soldiers that went to throw them in there, they were burnt and they died. And this is where my mind goes. How did they get in the furnace then? I mean, these three boys, were they just walking and like these people are falling down around them and they're just looking around like, do we just keep walking? I don't know. Like, I guess. Like, you want us to shut this? Oh, okay. I guess we'll shut it. I don't know. It's kind of, what? I kind of wonder what happened there. And this is what happened. King Nebuchadnezzar, he went to sit in his box seats or wherever it was, and obviously the furnace had a window or something. I'm not really sure. I don't know. Okay, Miss Ann, stop asking me these questions. I don't know everything. All right? Daniel 3:25 and 26. It says, look, Nebuchadnezzar shouted, I see 4 men unbound, walking around in the fire unharmed. And the 4th one looks like a god. Then Nebuchadnezzar came as close as he could to the door of the flaming furnace. Again, how did that door get shut? One of those 3 boys had to shut it. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out here. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire. See, God could have chosen to do a different miracle that day. God could have came with this like big fire extinguisher and just like put out that furnace, put out that fire. And a lot of times that's how we pray when we're in the fire. God, why are you allowing me to go through this? God, why can't you just take this away? It's like, God, you put me at this job, and it's terrible. It's like, you only work 2.5 hours a week. God, why am I going through this? And we want God to come with this big extinguisher and just put that fire out. But here God shows that's really not his MO. Like, he didn't come and put the fire out. But what he did is he stepped into that fire with them. And some of you right now, you're going through some fire. Right now, you're going through some things I wouldn't even begin to understand. And please do not think I'm making light of what you're going through. It's terrible. But I know this, anytime you're in the fire, there's potential of growth. And then anytime you're in the fire, you're not alone. He's right there with you. Verse 27 says, then the high officers, officials, governors, and advisors crowded around them and saw that the fire had not touched them. Not a hair on their head was singed, and their clothing was not scorched. They didn't even smell of smoke. They didn't even smell like their past. Some of you, like you're hanging on to your past. You're like, you got out of it. You're not there anymore. But that's still all you talk about because you wrap that up with your identity. And you're like, if I don't talk about it, how will people know I went through it? If I don't talk about it, how will people, like, people won't listen to me. And I want to tell you, for some of you, the best thing you can do is stop talking about your past. You no longer smell like that. You no longer smell like divorce. You no longer smell like bankruptcy. You no longer smell like foreclosure. You no longer smell like prison. Yeah, it's important to share your testimony, but you don't need to tell every single neighbor, hey, did I tell you what happened to me? No. You no longer smell like that. You don't smell and you don't look like your past. Why? Because you're not your past. Romans 5, 3 through 5. It says we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials. Anybody going through some problems right now? Anybody going through some trials right now? For we know that they help us develop endurance. And endurance develops strength of character. And character strengthens the confident hope of salvation. And this hope will not lead to disappointment. For we know how dearly God loves us. Because He has given us the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with His love. Let me just summarize that all for you. You're not going to be in this forever. It's going to be okay. And on the other side of this, you're going to look back and you're going to see how that led to the growth that you have. And then you're going to realize I wasn't alone in that. Because some of you feel very lonely right now. But just know that Jesus is walking right there beside you. So for some of you, the best thing you can do right now is take a stand. Hey, things are going bad, but I'm going to stand up. Things are going terrible, I'm going to stand up. Yep, me and my wife's not even living together now, but the best thing you do is stand up right now. No, everybody's going to see me. Everybody's going to notice me if I stand up. Yep. You want to stay planted, you got to stand. You got to stand up. You're like, I'm just going to keep sitting. No. You want things to change in your life, you are going to have to make a stand. You can't just keep on going, I'm just going to keep going through the motions, just keep going through the cycle. I'm tired of what I'm going through, but I'm still going to keep trying to do it myself. No. You need to stand up. Somebody's like, I don't know if he really wants me to stand up. I'm not really sure, but I kind of want to stand up, but then everybody's going to see me, and what's going to happen? Stop worrying about what everybody else thinks. They don't hold your value. If you want things to change or not, you got to stand. When you're planning, you got to stand. Here's the thing, Stephen, I think you were the first one to stand up. Like, most people didn't even know what I was talking about. Some people were sleeping, like my mother-in-law. She was sleeping. And she stood up right away. I want you to do something, Stephen. I want you to look at everybody else. Look behind you. See, this is what happens when you stand. When you stand, other people will follow suit. And when you stand, there's going to be others standing with you. So you don't only have God walking beside you, you have all those people that God's put in your life walking beside you. And I just have a feeling, I know a little bit about what you've gone through. You probably need some people to walk beside you through this. Right? You probably need a family to walk beside you. Hey, man, I got you. And by the way, if you can have somebody do that with you, maybe what you need is to do that with somebody else. Hey, I got you. I'm walking right beside you. But I don't even really like them. It's not that you don't like them. You just really don't like some of the stuff they've done. And some of you are like, I don't even like people. That's not true. You just don't like being hurt. And you found out that people hurt. So you stayed away from people. And it stunt your growth. How many want to stay planted? So my friends, my family, my loved ones, the Fairlawn Family Church, may you not only get planted, but may you stay plan. Grace and peace. I love you.